Hello, 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 and welcome to the Arise and Build podcast. Here with your girl, Yakinea Marie. Today, we're going to be talking about the power of walking away from your nine to five. I have the distinct honor and privilege of speaking to a gentleman who did just that, and he and his wife, they're making some noise in the marketplace. So without further ado, I want to bring to the stage Mr. Curtis Wilson. How you doing this
I'm well,
day?
I'm well.
You're
I'm
doing
well.
well. So listen, now this subject is going to, I believe, bless a lot of people, because you have many people who do want to transition from their 9 to 5s because they're parallelpreneurs. They are working, building their business parallel to their jobs, or maybe they're working a job and they haven't touched what they desire to do because they just feel stuck or stagnant, okay? So I want us to talk to the individuals today. But before we do, I want you to just introduce yourself to the people.
Yeah, so once again, thank you for having me on your platform. It's an honor and it's a privilege. So I just want to start there. And from the intro video, I know this is going to be a great topic. But I am, like she said, Curtis Wilson. I'm located here in Huntsville, Alabama. And a little bit by myself, I too was in the 9 to 5 world. I was a federal contract working for the federal government for 11 years, doing federal contracts. And what I have done now is transition from the federal government side and full-time entrepreneur with my wife and myself. And our specialty is short-term rentals, Airbnb, VRBO, if you heard of that, federal government contracts again, and then all that rolls up into our multifamily real estate portfolios.
Which I love it. You know, when you say real estate, you just get the attention. Everybody need to own some land, some bricks, something, right?
Right.
So let's talk about this. So how long have you been a full-time business owner, full-time entrepreneur?
Yeah, so full-time entrepreneur, it'll be 3 years this year, since 2023, right, kind of gets towards the end of COVID. And we've been entrepreneurs, I guess, balancing the two since 2017. So our company, Acquired Home Corp, we started in 2017 as a hobby, as most people do. And then as we saw how that was cash flowing and generating revenue, we said, well, we can probably turn this into a full-time business. So my wife, she was an RN working for the hospital here in Huntsville. She quit her job back in the end of 2022. And then for myself, 2023, November 2023 for myself, for 3 years.
Congratulations. What was the defining moment that made you say, you know what, I am done, that I want to go full time?
Yeah, so of course, you know, I'm big on faith. I'm big on those type of things. So of course, you know, prayer, a lot of, talking with some mentors and that nature to tell me that I am ready to make that leap. But ultimately, what made me decide that I can do it after my wife had quit hers was a salary, you know, basically the income revenue. So I teach, you know, other fellow entrepreneurs that if you can generate revenue 3 times your salary, whatever that current salary is, then you're 9 to 5. If you can generate 3 times that over a consistent 6-month time frame, then you're probably in a good financial position to walk away from a job. So of course, faith-based first, and then the salary income to kind of back that, to have a proven track record of that.
I love how you did that. I love that's foundational and it's strategic. Yes. It's not being anxious and just jumping out here and then you're struggling and then you're lying on God saying God said this when God didn't say none. That's your flesh. So number one, I like the fact that you prayed. I like the fact that you sought sound counsel. And then I like the fact that you looked at your wife and say, hey, if she can do it, I can do it too, because we're in partnership together. And then I like the fact that you had a plan. Yes. And your plan was, you said three months?
3 months. So it's 6 months. So our thing is whatever your current salary is, and you're thinking about walking away from your job, we teach and coach that 6 months worth of that, 3 times your salary and 6 months consistently of that salary coming in for business revenue. If those 2 things check out, then you should be in a comfortable position to walk away.
So you're generating $5,000 a month right now. You want them to generate at least $15,000 a month consistently for 6 straight months.
That's exactly right.
Wonderful. That's a great plan.
Yes,
I like that. And it sets them up so even when they walk off of their 9 to 5, have a cushion to give them time to build and continue to grow.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
But I have another question for you.
Sure.
So now listen now. For those who are watching, I need you to understand, I am not telling you to do this, okay? You have to hear from the Spirit of the Lord and make sure this is not your flesh leading you, but this is the Spirit of the Lord. But I understand that God is a God of strategy. He's a God of principles and processes as well. However, what happens when God leads you to leave your job before you have generated 3 months of revenue over 6 months, and God say, I need you to step out right now? But what you don't know is that as you step out and obey him, he has a huge contract that's waiting on your arrival because of your obedience and your faith. But this is led by God. This is not I have the charisma, or I have to get up and go. You're literally a person of prayer and fasting, and you know that you have heard the voice of the Lord. So speak to that. Yeah.
So that was kind of a situation that happened. I mean, so that formula that we talked about, we didn't just have it and it worked out the way, because I didn't know that. I didn't understand that part of the formula and the process until after the fact. So it was a situation where when my wife walked away, that was kind of the thing. So of course we had our cushion, with my job, but it was still, I didn't have that formula of the 6 months, 3 times the salary. So someone that's saying that God has told them to walk away prior to that formula, you still should have some type of strategies and financial backing in place to kind of lead with that. It's definitely faith-based for sure, but I'm going to highly recommend too that you've talked with some type of mentor, you talk to somebody that you trust in that process, or even done it before, to make sure you don't fall flat. We know God is not going to lead us astray, but at the same time, we do have to understand that he is a God of strategy and structure.
Well, even when you know that God said in a multitude of counsel, there is safety. Amen. So even as you step out, you still, like you said, you want to build a wall around yourself of mentors, coaches, strategists, counselors, something, and not just be isolated. Because in isolation, the enemy start playing with your mind and you start making premature decisions, and it will cost you.
That's exactly right. And doing consistency. So like I say, even if it's a situation where you can't fully walk away, my mentor, Myron Golden, he teaches that, do a little bit at a time.
Stop. Don't do that. Go ahead. I said, look, I had to say, that's my mentor, Dr. Myron. I'm going to be in Tampa next week going to one of his coaching sessions.
Man, I'm jealous already. So I'll be there with you in spirit. So that would be fantastic if I can make it down there. But so he teaches, even if you can't do it full time, try to buy back hours at a time. So if you're going to walk away and it's 40 hours a week that you put in and you can't, suffice full 40 hours a week paying yourself. Okay, well, how can you create something that's going to at least pay you an hour of that 40 hours to just work on that craft for an hour and let it build up over time? So that's a great lesson too that I wish I would have learned, but I think that's effective as well to get to that ultimately walking away position.
Well, I believe that's why you are a great coach now, because you know what it feels like not to do it, and then you know what it feels like to do it. And I believe what you're teaching right now is so vital, and it's so vital because it sets a person up to win, right? It sets a person up to win and not struggle, because the goal is not for you to just step out just to say, I'm retired, but the goal is for you to have a strategy so that you can produce some predictable fruit and predictable results. Because that right there, because I'll say this right here, as a coach, we want our students to win.
Yes.
Period. We don't want them to struggle. We want to give them a proven system that if they follow it, it will produce results.
Exactly. And that's kind of what we teach. We're here to serve and help you get to whatever that goal is, whatever your endeavor and venture is. And we want you to succeed in it. Like I say, a lot of faith and things go into it, but it is some entity structure, some guidelines, some rules and regulations that you must follow. Whatever your business is, whether it's a product or a service, there's certain things that you need to follow to make sure that that's in place so you can be successful. So coaches like us, that's what we're here to do. We're not here to do the work for you per se, but we're here to strategically guide you step by step, if that's the plan, to get you to that ultimate goal of whatever that financial freedom looks like for you and your team.
That's good. So let's pivot. Let's talk about real estate. So you all were already dabbling in real estate while you were working your jobs, which I absolutely love. That's that parallelpreneur. I feel like people, when they feel like they cannot start something because they're working a job, that to me, that's a form of deception that they bought into. I don't care if you have 1 hour a week, you can do something toward your business. Because if you have time to watch streaming shows or go out or whatever, you have the time. You're just not serious enough to put that and allot that time toward what it is that you desire. So let's go pre-real estate. Okay, you say you got into real estate in 2017 while you were working. What made you, I know you were doing it as a hobby, but what made you even decide to get over into real estate?
Yeah, so, another mentor of mine, Jamal King, the 9-to-5 millionaire, follow him. I don't know if people heard of like E.T., the hip hop preacher, and that whole group, but following him and doing some of his courses, he broke down how real estate is a solid vehicle, and it's just a different bank that can be long term. So I fully understand that, he teaches a motto that, you should have a brick or a building for every purpose that you want to do or every bill that you have. So understanding that concept, understanding that model, I knew that real estate was going to be a vehicle for us. And he teaches that everybody's in real estate. It just depends on what side of the equation you are. So either you're in real estate and you're paying rent or mortgage to a landlord or a bank, or you're on the other side and you are the landlord receiving rent. So everybody's in real estate. It just depends on what side of the coin you are. So we just went from being on the left side of real estate where we're paying out every month to switching it to being, now we're on the other side of the equation where we're receiving money. So understanding that concept kind of helped us transition to the other side of that equation.
Let's say that again. So, and I met him for the first time. I went to a conference, it was years ago, but he was one of the speakers. That's how I was first introduced to him. And then E.T. talked about him, of how they met, how he kept showing up at E.T.'s events. And E.T. was like, who is this guy? You know what I'm saying? He was a police officer.
That's exactly right.
Now, did he ever retire?
He did. He retired. I'm not sure when on this journey that he retired, but I kind of follow his whole motto. So if you get a copy of his book, he talks about how he was working his full-time job and while doing real estate, and then eventually that vehicle freed up him to do it full-time. So I'm a big motto. If the system is already proven that somebody's already done that path, I'm not here to reinvent the wheel. And if I have a passionate about it, I can do that as well. So that's kind of played out. So his motto is teaching just that. So while you're working your 9-to-5, as you say, you can be working on your craft and your business on the side and letting it build up as well.
I agree. And then I love what we were talking about before we actually came on the podcast about the government contracting, how you literally flipped it and how you, I love it. And so now government contracting is part of you all's business model as well.
Yeah, so government contract as well. So prior to the live podcast, what we were talking about was I was a federal contract specialist for the federal government, Army Contracting Command, for 11 years, and learning that from the inside out, and just seeing that, this is something I can do for myself. If we're spending millions and millions of dollars with other contractors, why can't I be on the other side of the equation again and get some of that revenue as well as a small business providing those same services and products to the federal government? So that's essentially what we did. We took the concept of real estate and short-term rentals, kind of bottled it up, went out there in what they call solicitations, found solicitations through SAM.gov, and service that right back to the government. And we was blessed enough to win a few contracts under that motto.
I love it. I love you and your wife are strategic thinkers.
Yes.
And I love that. I love how it's like you are one of my mentors. He said, don't well, anyway, I won't even do that. I was about to make a statement, but he kind of gave me a different approach to that statement.
Okay.
But you all are strategic thinkers, and I really, really like that. I like the fact that you didn't just get out, you didn't just leave the government space, but you turned it where you now can actually monetize, and that can actually feed into you all's business model.
Yes. And one of the things too with that we tell people is, try it. Yes, with all the formulas and the systems and things in place, the worst case scenario, if you have a strategy in place, that is you're going to go back to where you're at. So worst case scenario, if my wife left her job the right way, I left my job the right way. You don't burn any bridges, as they say. The worst case scenario, you step out there for a year or two, and if it doesn't work out, everything just goes belly up. Well, hopefully you left that job in a good position where you can at least come back, or at least try making a strong attempt to get back to where you're at. And that was the whole thing. If leaving the job is the worst case scenario, if I had to come back, then it's kind of a no-brainer at that point.
That's good. That's good. So what would you say to a 9-to-5er who feels stuck? They desire to step out. They desire to start their business or go full time. What would be your first step? I know you gave several different steps, but what would be the first step you will tell them to do this week that can support them toward making that pivot?
Get a coach. So not just because I am a coach, find somebody in that field that's doing exactly what you want to do and reach out to them, ask them how they do it. So whether they even have a course, whether they have a one-on-one program, even if they just have something as simple as a book, support that, find them and follow them. That will save you a lot of time, a lot of resources, and a lot of finances versus you trying to do it on your own. Then after you have that conversation with them, or even one of their students that's successful, then you can kind of reverse engineer from there to say, okay, this is where I want to be in a year and a half, and 2 years. Okay, let me reverse engineer from there and work my way backwards. But my first advice would definitely get a coach that's in your space to reach out to them to see how you can do it as well.
I actually absolutely love that. Now, the reason why I love the fact that Curtis mentioned a coach, because the coach, they help to guide you. If you think of a team, the players cannot play effectively on the field without the coach, without the framework, the blueprint, all the words, It depends on if it's football or basketball or track or whatever the case may be, but a coach. But I also like the fact when he mentioned about a book. See, sometimes you may look at a coach and say, well, I don't have the $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to invest into this coaching program, but you may have the $199 that they have that's a digital course, right? Or you may have the $25 that they have for the book, because you'll be amazed of it's like when we mentioned Dr. Myron Golden earlier today. I know one of his frameworks, he talks about the 4 moves. Well, if you got the Boss Move book right here that I have right here on my desk.
Look at that.
If you have the Boss Move, shout out to Dr. Myron Golden, you will see that the same principles that he teach you in his $55,000 coaching program or his $375,000 VIP, it's the 4 Boss Moves. Right? All you have to do is pay $29 for the book. Now, are you an author yet? Have you written a book yet?
I am. So I've written a book myself. It's 7 biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make before they leave their job. And in this book, I simply go over those 7 biggest mistakes. So, taking the mistakes that we made in building our quote unquote empire, I captured it in that book. So if you're nervous, if you're trying to figure out, okay, where do I start as far as entity setup structure? Where do I start as finding how to get in contact with the coach and reaching out to a coach? Or what do I set up, whether I, start with selling a service or a product, or how do I convert this from a service to a product? All that, like she said, is captured in the book, for $20. So it's the same concept. If, like she said, if you can't, afford the $55,000 program, or you can't afford the $300-$400 course, get a book, and go from there. And that will put you eons ahead of most people that just want to start there blindly, kind of scrambling.
Now, give me the title of that book one more time.
So the title of the book is Seven Biggest Mistakes
Mm-hmm.
Entrepreneurs Make Before Leaving Their Job.
I love it. And where can I get that book at?
It's on Amazon. I'll make sure we get a copy of the link where you can go straight there, but it's on Amazon and it's under my full name, which is Curtis Wilson. And it's a copy there and it's only $20.
See, it starts there. And let me say this, a person that's unwilling to invest in themselves is a person that's unwilling to move to another level.
You can say that
if we make excuses about $20 when we will go to a restaurant and eat a meal that's probably not healthy anyway, right? But we want to invest in ourselves, then we have to ask ourselves, are we really serious?
That's right.
Because leaders are readers and serious people, they are investors. They just invest in themselves. You are your great. I always remember this. And let me come up close. You are your greatest asset, period. People are your second greatest asset, but you are your greatest asset. Never forget that. Never forget that. And you are worth every dollar that you will invest. Always never talk yourself out of investing in yourself, and never allow anybody else to talk you out of somebody, one of your friends. Oh, girl, I can't believe, you about to spend that on it. I'm not spending anything. I am investing. And the moment that a person try to talk me out of doing something, I'm not sharing my jewels with them anymore.
There you go. Understand? There you go. And you will learn as you continue to grow. You'll start being introduced to more. God will bring more people into your circle that's going to help elevate you and whatever you have going on. So those negative people, they will automatically start weaving themselves out of the equation. But like you said, it's investing in yourself. I always ask people before we get started in any type of coaching or any of that, how much have you invested into yourself? And it's not necessarily from a monetary standpoint, but just some of your habits. What are some of your habits to get you to wherever you go? What your daily routine, things that you changed up to get to this goal that you said you want to get to? Tell me about the things that you invested in yourself to get to that point. And we as a people sometimes don't understand that. We think that we can continue to do the same things and get different results, but we know that's the definition of insanity. And it just doesn't work that way. So I always ask people, before I invest anything into you or you give me any money for any coaching, how much or what have you invested in yourself before we get started?
I love it. It's a mindset, because at the end of the day, we're dealing with mindsets.
That's it.
Because one of my things that I tell the girls, because I have a network called the SHECEO Network, and so we are a training and development company for women entrepreneurs. And one of the things I share with them is, if you're not ready to put in the work, don't invest yet.
Yes.
Because I'm not just trying to, give me your money. No, I really, truly want you to get a payoff, and I want you to get results. But you have to be willing to show up. Or you're going to get frustrated and you're going to frustrate me. And I value peace. One of my values is peace.
Amen.
You understand? And so, yeah.
That's accurate. And I tell people just a simple analogy. The top of the year, everybody's one of their New Year's resolution is get to the gym, get fit, exercise, et cetera, et cetera. But even by the time you can invest your money into getting a membership, you can start with a whole nutritional plan. You can hire a personal trainer. You can do all that. But the hardest part, or the first part of that investment, is showing up at the gym. So, I don't care how many weights, how many programs, how many classes are in that gym that's readily available to you. And even after you paid your membership, you have to still go in there and put in the work to get those results. And it takes consistency to get those results.
Yes. Endure whatever the pain is. It's all temporary. But if you got to go, it's just a matter of time before you get on the other side. And then now God is using you to go back and teach other people the process that you have come through, right? Because that's basically what you and your wife are doing, Curtis, is that you took a path, and now you're turning and you're going and helping other people come down this path, because it's guaranteed.
Yes.
It's guaranteed. If you just do X, Y, and Z, it's guaranteed.
It's guaranteed. And it's not to say that we won't have any bumps and things along the road, but at the end of the day, like she said, it is guaranteed if you follow the system and the guidance that whoever you're up under has instructed for you to do so.
Absolutely. Well, it has just been a joy speaking with you, Curtis. I know I just literally had the opportunity of meeting you at a podcast workshop. And I'm glad that that we were able to meet, because you and your wife have something of value that you're adding to the marketplace. And I knew that you would be an asset to my viewers. So thank you for your time. Again, give a shout out to your book.
So once again, the book is called 7 Biggest Mistakes Entrepreneurs Make Before They Leave Their Job. And it's on my website. You can go to my website and it'll be a section there where you can order the book. But also, feel free to reach out to me as well too. I'm still reachable, so my social media is Kurt Wilson. You can find me on all platforms there. I have a YouTube channel. You can go there and check out some of the content as well. But that's how you can get a copy of the book if you want to, learn a little bit more information about how we did our transition. But it's a lot of information out there as well. So I appreciate it as well.
Absolutely. You have any last comments you would like to say?
I don't, other than I appreciate you having me on my platform. I'm jealous of the fact that you're going down to Tampa to be with Myron. If I could, I would be down there, but I know you're going to have an awesome time.
I truly am. He truly is a gift to the body of Christ and just the marketplace, period. So I look forward to it. It's a young lady that I actually met. We invested in his coaching program, Boss Moves Boot Camp coaching program, and will make more. I said Boss Moves, make more offers, and so we became like sisters, And so I'm going down there. We're gonna have a great time. She and myself, and then we're gonna go see Dr. Byron.
Fabulous time. Yeah, make sure we've been to his studio a few times. He does it on Monday and Thursday, so make sure you definitely get in the building.
Absolutely. So thank you again. Listen, I greatly appreciate you all for joining us for another episode of Arise and Build. We would like to know at least one thing that you took away from this episode. And if you're on this, if you're watching this, I invite you to download the Arise and Build guide. This is all about you rewriting your story. Well, not you, God rewriting your story. Because sometimes we just, we start rewriting our, we create our own paths without God's guidance. And so that's the purpose of that guide. And I want to invite you to access that guide. So again, thank you for joining us. If you're not already subscribed, I invite you to subscribe, to like, and to share. And again, thank you for joining us for Arise and Build. God bless you.